It was my senior year in high school. I had gone to Radio Shack and purchased one of those pagers, clear see through, that when you would call it to page, it would light up. You couldn't tell me anything. To me, at that time, I was at the cutting edge of technology. Around that same time, my parents had gotten an Alltel, I don't know what part of the country you come from, but an Alltel phone, bag phone, that sat in the car, and it was all of our phones. You couldn't tell me anything times two. My entire family was sitting at the cutting edge of technology. Fast forward a little over 20 years, and we have literally everything at our fingertips. From being able to fix a car to hairstyles and makeup, ways to file your taxes, all the way down to finding a recipe for chicken salad that doesn't have walnuts, raisins, and cranberries in it. Today on the Silver Fox Journal podcast, I'm going to kind of dig into something I've discussed before, if you follow my blog, about finding a way to disconnect from technology, finding a way to keep that humanity that makes us who we are. Are you ready? Let's go. So this time I'm doing something different. So everybody who's listening on my podcast, you don't know this, but I am actually slightly simulcasting. I'm recording to my YouTube channel. And if you didn't know that I have a YouTube channel, ta-da, I do. I started my YouTube channel for something different. It had nothing to do with my podcast or my blog at the time. But long story short, I had some surgery on my ulnar nerve a few years ago. And the reason I started the channel was because I had seen so many different videos about recovery and what it was like to have the surgery from athletes, but no one who actually was just a regular person trying to figure out how to navigate what it's like to have the surgery and then the aftermath. So that's where my YouTube channel came from. I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing, even though my sister bought me a podcast book about being successful at podcasting. I'm sorry, I don't like reading. It makes me sleepy and I fall asleep. College was difficult because I kept falling asleep. But anyway, I decided to do something different today. And this podcast is more like a kind of touch base. And I'm hoping that for some of you who've never read my blog has been around for quite a few years, but my podcast is fairly new. So my website is www.silverfox with 2 X's, journal.com. My Instagram is at silverfox. Wait a minute, hold up. I'm bad at this. I'm just not good at social media. It's part of the reason for the podcast / video. My IG is the Silver Fox, 2 X's, Journal. Facebook is the same thing, Silver Fox Journal, the Silver Fox Journal. And my Twitter, I am not going to lie to you, I am not the biggest Twitter fan. I know people who are great at it. My sister is one of those people. I'm just not. But to stay relevant, I have a Twitter account. It is at the Silver Fox, 2 X's, 1. Anyway, so a couple years ago, I wrote an article, which actually went over pretty well from people who have followed my blog, about finding ways to disconnect, to reconnect to yourself away from technology. And then earlier this year, I wrote an article that was kind of brought on about some other things. And the reason I'm making this podcast today is because it seems we've had a lot of things happen in the media recently that kind of, I feel like, makes people cling to technology and social media. But on the flip side of it, it's also kind of a toxicity with connecting that way. Anyway, so before I even wrote the post on my page this year, and when I wrote it a few years ago, there was a lag. Because I think according to my website, hold on, I'm multitasking. According to my website, I wrote that article on my blog, I think in 2016, and it was about, hey, like I said earlier, there's 5 steps, things you can do to stay connected to reality, but be able to still maintain dealing with your social media. And what kind of started me kind of welling up about saying I need to get away from social media was last year. I had a person very dear to me pass away. She was murdered. And the only way I was able to find out about that, because of the background, the history of the relationship that I had with that person, was through social media. And it was awesome to be able to have someone think of me enough to say, hey, I need you to know. But I found out on Facebook Messenger. And there's really no delicate way to say, hey, someone that you care about and you've known for many years, whom you love, is now gone and they were murdered. It was just like a shot to the heart. I instantly read my phone and was like, you're kidding me. What is this? Are you lying to me right now? And I busted out crying. And so, however great it was to be connected to the process of knowing what was going on during that time, and then the weeks after and the year after, because it was a year in July that she passed away, social media was weird for me. It just felt awkwardly invasive and comforting at the same time. I didn't know really what to make of it, but I also knew that I wanted to stay connected. And I wanted to make sure that the other people that loved her knew that I loved her and that we offered support. So fast forward, and knowing that, and then coming up to the beginning of the year when I had some other things going on in my life. I had a recent breakup. And you never know how many people are connected to you really through another person until you start dealing with social media. And a lot of my familiar haunts and people that I had befriended over the years, were through social media. That made me feel uncomfortable. And I was like, well, do I get off Facebook? Do I get off Twitter? Like, what do I do right now? Because all these people are kind of intertwined into my life and the life of another person. And then about, I guess it's not even 3 weeks ago now. And for those of you who are not dog lovers or who don't understand the connection with it, trust me, I didn't either. Before I was around two wonderful dogs that are my sister's dogs. And then a couple weeks ago, my sister's oldest dog had to be put down suddenly because of an accident. And it was devastating. I don't have any nieces and nephews that were raised around me, and our family is small, so they're like my little canine niece and nephew. And so when she passed away, people are posting stuff on Facebook, and I was just like, I'm so uncomfortable. And it kind of brought me back to a time when I think about simplicity, which is the reason why earlier, if you go to my blog, the actual name of the post I put is called Elle Disconnected, a month without my smartphone. Okay, so let me go ahead, full disclosure. I went through this whole process of trying to literally disconnect like it was when I had my pager. I told myself, I was like, I am going to disconnect 100%. I'm going to act like it's 1997, 98 again, and this is what life is, because this is simplistic and I'm okay with that. Well, I would look for these phones. They had terrible reviews. Some of them were coming from other countries and people were saying they were never getting them. Long story short, I never ordered the phone. But I also had things going on in my life from the time that I wrote that article in February till now, that it just wasn't, my lifestyle and what I was trying to do wasn't conducive to just completely getting rid of social media and technology. So I'm going to sit here and say, as truthful as I try to be about things, I did not hold on to that. Now, for all of you who are familiar with technology and social media, it's almost impossible to eliminate building a brand, whether it's a business or a podcast or anything, without social media. Try as I might, the reason I am not a millionaire right now is because I have constantly tried to fight what is right now. And that's technology. IT, everything is focusing on technology, including social media. So what I decided to do to stay true to the process is that I am not completely disconnecting from my technology because of the fact that I'm trying to build a brand with my Silver Fox Journal, my podcast, as well as I'm getting ready to start a business. And you just can't disconnect that way. But I'm going to be more mindful of how I connect. So what I did is I eliminated, with the exception of Instagram, I have gotten rid of other social media on my telephone, on my cell phone, and my tablet. I will not be using any of that personally. It will only be for business, podcast / blogging. It's the only reason I'm doing it. And you know what? I'm unapologetic about it. And I can honestly say it's been, what's today's date? I started less than a week ago, and I really have not missed Facebook, and I haven't missed my personal Instagram. Now, I have slightly struggled because, I mean, if you're not familiar with having multiple Facebook or Instagram accounts, you can't just simply just log in if you registered it under your profile, like I did with my Facebook. So as of right now, I'm not using my Facebook. I realize that I'm gonna have to, but I reset my passcode and did some other things. As far as my Instagram, I've been good. I got kind of wrangled in a little bit. I felt kind of guilty because there was a post that I clicked on. It was like, oh no, that's my personal Instagram. It's not my business or my podcast. So I said, okay. So I looked at the thing and went back through and deleted and went on about my business. But my main reason for talking about this is in the coming weeks, I do have guests. Yeah. The crowd goes wild. I have guests, and one of the things we're going to be talking about is social media and how it's affecting how people interact with others, as well as how we see ourselves. And I wanted to kind of do this first, but I also realized that I have heard so many people talk about how much they appreciate the technology, but it feels so invasive. For those of you who are listeners who aren't in the United States, I'm still sure you're aware of it. We had 2 mass shootings here, one in Ohio and another one in Texas. And I don't know about you, whoever's listening to this, but there's something to be said about being constantly inundated with death. This many people died. This is what blood looks like. This is what people are fighting over. It's a lot. And I can say with all of the things from my loved one passing away last year, to going through a relationship ending, to the loss of a family member, which kind of is what it is, and all the mass shootings and awful craziness going on with people in society when it comes to politics and everything in the United States. I've just had my fill, but I also recognize that life still has to go on, and I'm touching base with myself about what staying true to human connection, the organic experience, and being able to relate to other people looks like compared to what technology is. So that's where I am. I would like you, I hope, I mean, first of all, for those of you who've never seen me, hi, I'm Elle, Silver Fox. For those of you that have and who've been on my page and who looked at my other videos, thank you for checking this out, because you probably were like, what is this? I don't care about this. I want to know what arm surgery is like. That's the scar, by the way. But yeah, I'm checking in. I would really love for you to check my page out, www.silverfox2xsjournal.com. I am on, my podcast is on quite a few platforms. I'm on iTunes, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, which is my host company. But it also, you can do it just like SoundCloud. I am on SoundCloud. Bear with me because I have not downloaded everything. And what's the last one I'm on? Is that it? I think that's it. And if it's not, I have the links on my website. So if you're like me and you're feeling kind of run down by the way technology is, you're not alone. I love it. I love being able to pay bills and send crazy pictures and memes and gifts to my family and friends, have group chat with my mom and sister and FaceTime. I love all of that. But there is something to be said about how much technology gives us the comfort and it also takes it away. So once I'm done with this whole process, because it's supposed to be for 30 days and I've been doing really good so far, I'm going to update my blog and post what it was like from the inception of feeling overwhelmed and saying I don't want any of this technology, to making the decision to say I can get rid of all of my technology, to what it looks like in 30 days. So again, I do have some things coming in the works discussing technology and relationships and all that kind of thing. And I hope that you stay tuned. Thank you for being here, because as I usually say, you could have been anywhere else and spent 15 to 16 minutes of your time, but you chose to do it with me, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much. And until the next time, peace.